Welcome, everybody, to Keep Your Torch Lit podcast. My name is Sam.
My name is Jack.
And my name is Sarah.
Sam was quite the traveler this week. You know, we know the last time that he was in Iowa. Now I saw you on the big TV screen playing a little trumpet of yours. What was that?
Whoa.
Wow. You know, it's not as great as being on the TV screen for Survivor, but it's still fine. I wish that one day I'll have as much fame as our next guest is going to have. But no, it's been a very good time. I remember I recorded our last podcast sitting in the hallway of the hotel room outside of my room. And now I'm gonna be leaving again tomorrow for Anaheim, and we're about to
Tomorrow?
Texas Tech, and Texas Tech beat Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
Then yeah, Texas Tech.
So what do you think is going to be more fun? Anaheim, California, or Des Moines?
Well,
That's
you
kinda
know,
tough.
they do say, as I said, that Des Moines is the Hartford of the West.
Ooh.
And, you know, Hartford is well known as one of the best cities in the world.
That's true.
So that means that by default, Des Moines is also one of the best cities. I don't know. Anaheim is near LA. It's kind of lame. I heard that, like, I don't know, over there, LeBron, they just have trashy basketball teams that, like, can't even make the playoffs. So I don't know.
Like the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, like, come on, pick a freaking city.
It's stupid. Yeah, yeah. There's nothing going on over there. So I'm a little bit bummed. On our free days, instead of getting to go and use the Skywalks in Des Moines, we're gonna have to go to Disneyland. Like, who wants to do that? So
Wow.
I'm a little bit salty about it, but
that sucks. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have to suck it up, miss class, take my per diem, and go to Disneyland, and I'll survive, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of Disney, you know what Disney has a lot of?
What?
What?
Villains.
Okay.
And ow! What's on my back? Ow! I'm getting kicked in my back. Oh, wait! It's
Whoa.
none other than Akshay. Whoa!
I didn't kick anybody else in the back, so let's not get that spread.
I saw it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just stop denying it. It happened. We all saw it.
I can see Akshay being like a Disney villain that just goes around kicking everyone.
Yeah.
When that Brown Disney movie eventually comes out, I'm actually gonna play the villain.
And your origin story is you thought you got kicked, so you become the kicker, you know? And it
But
turns
did
out...
I actually think I got kicked?
Oh my god, guys, I really have to pee. BRB.
All right. Well, while Jack's gone, I think we might as well start breaking down this episode.
I actually wanted to address something before we got into the details. Akshay, you were telling me how, like, 5 weeks of your confessionals got lost. What's up with that?
Yeah, so I think, as George has said on this podcast before, a lot of Claire's confessionals and a lot of just the footage that she had has disappeared and doesn't exist anymore. And with the exception of the week that Levana went home, I think I've had Claire, like, confessionals with Claire for 5 weeks. So they're all gone. And it's why, like, if you look at some of the episodes, you see, like, Doll somewhat explaining what I'm thinking, Matthew and Mitch explaining what I'm thinking, and I'm like, why am I not explaining what I'm thinking? And it's because it doesn't exist anymore.
Yikes.
Oh, sad.
I feel like this is funny because I'm thinking back to a lot of, like, I think probably the last 3 or 4 episodes of this podcast in a row, where we've been like, wait, what is Akshay thinking? Like, why did he do that?
Yeah, and it's tough because I probably have the most inexplicable moments of the past 5 weeks, like all of them. So, and the fact that I don't get to explain any of them in the show is, like, really tough because I'm just like, no one knows my thought process at all.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because I remember us asking Cooper about some of those things and him explaining what he thought, us asking Brittany. I guess we could kind of start this episode by asking you kind of about some of those moments, dating all the way back to the kick. The kick, and then going into the next challenge, you trash talking people.
Yep, good times.
The infamous Rocks tribal and everything that happened there. I think there's a lot that's kind of happened with your game in the past 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah,
so
it needs to revolve around me and not necessarily in those ways.
Definitely in a lot of entertaining ways, though.
Yeah. Please use this as a makeup for all the confessionals that you lost. please explain everything that you didn't get to say in the actual episodes.
Everything.
Everything that you want the audience to hear.
We'll be here for until like the next week if I say everything. But all right, let's just start with right when Levana gets voted out, because Levana was my closest ally without a doubt. I think that's pretty obvious from what like has been shown on TV, on YouTube, on the episodes, whatever the fuck it's called. And then she was gone, and I knew Cooper was a massive, massive threat. But at that point, I felt very alone in the game, and I knew Kara was coming. And since Dahl had just turned on Levana, I was like, okay, I'm going next. Like, it's over.
Right.
I was telling you all, it was a good game. Let me become this Philip Shepard level villain to the point that everyone wants to take me to the end as a goat. Because how else am I going to get to the end? It's not possible. That is literally what was going through my mind.
Okay.
Whatever the hell was going through my mind at that time, that's what it was. So I get to the challenge, and it's the worst challenge in the history of mankind for me, because I have shaky ass hands. So I get there and I see, it's something where you have to keep your hand steady for a long period of time. And I was like, well, it was nice knowing you all. And I dropped out in a solid 5 seconds. And we had talked about, Dahl actually had messaged me going into that challenge. He said, yo, be angry at me. Like, what? Be mad. Pretend like you're mad that I just sent Levana home. I said, okay, I can pretend really easily. And so there was one early on where I was just like, you get to see that you're falling? Levana didn't even get that chance. And it was like the stupidest thing I probably could have said. And like he actually smiled and laughed at me. Like he had like realized how stupid it was. And in that moment, I was like, oh, wait, if I'm going to be an asshole to Dahl, let me be an asshole to everybody. So when Brittany fell, I actually did feel bad at the time. I was just like, oh, Brittany, it's okay. And she went like, oh, whatever, Akshay. Like, you voted for me at the last tribal. And that came out of nowhere to me, because I was just like, the hell? What did I say to her? I was actually being nice. Maybe she thought I was being sarcastic, but I was being nice at the time. And then when she did that, I was like, all right, I'm being mean to everybody. It's over.
It's over. It's all over.
It's over. So I actually told Tarowski I'm about to be mean, so I wanted him to like walk away from me, and he overacted. He like stormed off, and I was like, I just told you. Okay, whatever. And like Kara was actually mad. She like actually yelled at me. And when my sister saw the video, she was like, hey, only I'm allowed to say shut up, Akshay. Tell Kara she's not allowed to say that.
Aww.
Oh, no.
And it was really funny. But I was just going off on everyone, and also trying to make it tell Cam, you're on the bottom. Because somewhat, they kind of clued in a little bit that Cam was on the bottom, which I don't even know if he was. That might have been fake, which probably was. But I wanted something to happen that Cooper would survive on the other side, which I didn't see happening. So I wanted Cooper and Angela to survive, honestly, because I was tight with both of them. And so I was telling Cam, like, you're on the bottom the entire challenge. And Brittany, Mitch, and Leia are looking at each other the entire challenge, like, what is this asshole talking about? Oh my God. It was very fun, honestly. I really enjoyed being the villain that night. That was a good time. And then it ended, and I was just like, okay, I'm fucked. And like the moment he said double tribal, I was like, I'm fucked. But it all came down to the idols that week, and every conversation we had with everyone that week was, it's going to come down to the idols. And that first tribal happens, the Maisons go to tribal, and we know that there's an extra idol on our side, and we know all three of us are safe. So I was just like, okay, well, the previous tribal, Brittany's knee probably made contact with my back at some point. So let's turn that into something that didn't actually happen. We're going to say she kicked me.
Oh my gosh. Wait, so, okay, I need to stop you there. So you just made the kick up then? Like, you had been nudged?
So what had happened in the previous tribal was weird. It was like, I had voted for her, and she was mad. And I was sitting right in front of her, I think. So when I sit down on the revote, she, like, air kicks. She, like, kicks in the air, but doesn't hit me.
Oh.
So at that point, I know she's angry. And then within, like, 2 minutes of that, some part of her body made contact with my back. And then she said sorry. So there was, like, somewhere between 1% and 5% of me that thought it could have been intentional. So I made that into a much bigger than 1% to 5%.
That's great.
And I was like, you know what? It was intentional. We're going off on it. And I went off on it. And that tribal is pretty self-explanatory.
Well, this is a new development. If Brittany apologized the first time, that means that she recognized that the kick happened. Maybe it was just that it wasn't a kick. It was a knee nudge.
She definitely did say sorry right afterwards. And like I said, it's fine. And I think that was it. Or she thought that would be it. But yeah, she acknowledged it at that point. I don't think it was a kick. Like she said last week on the podcast, I think it was like actually her knee. And then it developed into its own story from there.
That's incredible.
And then like I turned it into a kick and was like, you know what? I've had a terrible week with Levana going home and thinking I'm going home if this idol doesn't get passed over. Let me just release every bit of frustration I have left to the nicest human being on earth. That's like a great strategy to be a villain.
I mean, yeah, it definitely did make you a villain. And I think that's really interesting. I never realized like your strategy of like purposely becoming a villain in hopes of like that keeping you in the game or bringing you to the end as like a goat. Like that's I never really. I guess it definitely makes sense though, seeing how like it does seem like there's a point where all of a sudden like your strategy and character completely changed, like right around being voted out.
With Levana, she was such a loyal ally, and she obviously knows everything because she has telepathy, and she might have been the one who kicked me and everything.
There's theories about that.
With her short-term memory loss, I did not think she would be a very difficult final tribal opponent. So when I lost her, who was the 1,000% loyal to me over anyone else, who was the only person in the game that I knew was 1,000% loyal to me over anyone else, I was lost completely. I think she used her mental powers to just mess with my head a little bit, I went for the villainous role, which came a little too easily.
Well, I guess I can see how one big character leaves the game, and then kind of a new big character takes her place. I definitely feel like your presence in the show became a lot more big after Levana was voted out.
I had a big personality beforehand, but it was like nice, and then it became big personality villainous.
It definitely made the game a lot more interesting.
Came out of nowhere to a lot of people.
Well, this seemed like, I think for a lot of people, confusing as like, wow, we did not see this side of Akshay before. Like what flipped the switch? And so I think it's good to know what happened there and what flipped the switch.
And I think it almost flipped a switch again during this episode, because I feel like I hadn't really seen you like super kind of like down in the dumps, like not really like energized about when talking about the game. So like I feel like you almost flipped the switch again during this episode.
Yeah, as we saw in the very short confessional that I was able to do, just personally, what was not happening in the game had messed with my mind big time in the week of 9. And on top of that, there was the feeling of the entire week of I'm going home and there's literally nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
Which the worst feeling in the world, as you guys talked about on this podcast, you could always do something, but that was not the week. I would have had to do something the previous week. So that week it was like I'm going home and everything else in my life sucks.
Yeah.
So I pretty much didn't talk to anyone. Liz reached out to me, Brittany reached out to me, and Cooper reached out to me, which is like very briefly touched upon in this episode. And they just, put aside the game for like 10 seconds and were just like, what's wrong with you? And I just felt so personally touched by that. And it's why me and Brittany are as good friends as we are outside the game now. Like, it's crazy to think about if you look at the final 12 episode, but we really are just such good friends because of that moment.
Oh my gosh, I'm so relieved. Finally, that was the longest pee of my life. I'm back.
Welcome back, Jack.
Welcome back. Okay,
it's like me in the show now. My confessionals are back.
Yeah,
it's exactly. We did this on purpose, actually. That way you guys could kind of see what the experience would have been like for Akshay to have been absent for a significant portion of what we were filming.
Yeah,
and it just had to kind of jump back in. At least we did get to see that in this episode. You do have some confessionals finally. We actually do have footage for that.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting. I think before we break down this episode more, we should ask you about one of the pretty important moments that we've discussed, I think, quite in full in our podcast. But
Why?
it's been hearing it from Cooper's perspective or from Brittany's perspective. We want to hear Akshay's perspective on the Tarowski fake idol and the merge vote.
All right. Where do you want me to start?
From the confession or like from the video, it seemed like you didn't really question whether the idol was fake. You know, like, so what was like your thought process when Tarowski was like putting on this act?
Yeah. Okay. So that meeting happened literally 20 minutes before Tribal. My mind was kind of messed up all day where I was like, I don't want to vote for Cooper, but I don't want to turn on the Neelas yet either because it's too early for me because Cooper has not told me that he has a connection with Leia. So it's too early for me to go from a bottom of 6 to a bottom of 6. Like, that just didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So he gets this meeting 20 minutes before in Mason, the home of Survivor, and shows me this idol. And this man, at this point, I had met with all the Maisons. None of them had admitted to finding an idol clue. None of the Neelas had admitted to finding an idol clue. And this man is the idol whisperer. He's already found 2. Like, I just assumed, like, why wouldn't you? That, like, it was an idol because Tarowski's found 2. You know, they look different. Both of those necklaces look different. This necklace looks different. Okay, it looks fancy. You know, why not? I'm good with it. There was no reason for me to question it at all.
It's a pretty dang believable idol. Like, to be fair, like, just taking out other external factors, it looks pretty convincing.
It did.
The thing is, he did say, "Now I will give it to you after Tribal." Did you believe that he would actually give it to you?
So here's the thing. At that moment, there was about 10% of me that was like, Tarowski might give this to me. Because he had just played an idol for Angela, and followed that up by giving an idol to Thal, and in effect saving myself also. Because Thal and Kara would have turned on me. So I was like, okay, so he's proven he gives away idols. Like, this is not a first. The other 90% of me went, there's a 100% chance he's playing it tonight. Because he knows he's getting votes.
Okay.
The first vote, I go there and I'm like, okay, I'm obviously going to vote for Cooper because Tarowski's just going to whip out this idol and he's going to play it for himself, and Cooper's going to go home, and if I vote against Tarowski and now it's 6-4, I'm the idiot. So let me vote let me vote Cooper, because then I'll sort of still have an in with the Neelas, and that's what I did.
That actually makes so much more sense now. Like, if you honestly believed he had the idol, then it would be stupid to not vote with him.
Yeah.
Because then you would have been on the wrong side of the vote.
But then why would you flip on the revote?
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing.
So on the revote, the thought process was none of us Neelas thought there was even a 1% chance. If there was even a 1% chance that they would have gone to rocks, I would have flipped in 2 seconds. But not a single one of us thought there was any chance they would go to rocks for Cooper. Mitch literally had just flipped the previous week. We were like, he's going to switch. Then if not, Brittany's going to switch. She's never worked with Cooper. If not, Leia and Liz are going to switch because they're pissed at Cooper from last week. Someone is going to flip on Cooper somehow. There's no way this is getting the rocks. No way in hell. Let me write Cooper, because if I flip and Mitch flips, then this is going to rocks, and this is horrible.
Yeah.
So I write down Cooper going, okay, he's about to get sent home. That's unfortunate. You know, I can work with it, though. I'm still in the game. When that last vote comes out and it says Tarowski, my face drops. Because I know there's no way in hell Kara and Thal, maybe Thal, but definitely not Kara, is ever turning on Tarowski. And I know there's no way Leia, who's immune, is turning on Cooper. And in that moment, I knew no matter what discussion we had, we were going to rocks. And I was so terrified.
Oh my gosh.
I think it was just such a unique situation where both sides were so like certain that somebody on the other side would flip.
Exactly.
They were just like, yeah, it would make no sense for them not to flip. And then, you know, both kind of like psyching yourselves kind of into that thing where no one ends up flipping.
And it's the same thing that, like, you don't want to flip because you think that it's so likely that somebody else will flip that you don't want to cause the double flip and like go to rocks. Looking at it from not hearing your perspective, it seems like, wow, you just got totally lied to and then caused the rocks. But it does make sense that, like, all right, for one, you thought Tarowski really did have the idol, was going to play for himself. And then 2, you thought that, well, if he doesn't, the Maisons will obviously flip. And I don't want to flip and cause another tie.
There was another deal that didn't make. It was if we lose Cooper and we get rid of Anila this week, the next 2 are going to be Maisons. And I thought they would stick to that because for whatever reason, 2 seems to be the magic number that people stick with votes once they make an alliance. So I was like, okay, if we get rid of Liz and Mitch, which are the 2 biggest Maison threats, then me and Angela, who are the remaining goats, along with Kara, on the Neela tribe, can jump over and take out the Alexes. And now it's me, Leia, Brittany, Angela, Kara, final 5.
Wow.
And at this point, you know, Leia's probably the only big threat in that 5. So we take out Leia. And it's me and 3 other goats that can't speak very well. And I'm the best speaker out of this 4. Oh my God, I can win the game.
Wow.
So I saw the path. It included Kara, Angela, Brittany, and me in final 4. And I was going to win out of that. And so I was just like, this path takes me to victory if Cooper goes home. So let me take it.
Wait, who made you the promise of 2 Maisons going next week?
Tarowski promised that the next 2 would be Maisons.
Oh, Tarowski promised. Okay.
And he, quite frankly, controlled everyone on Neela at that point. So
it probably would have been.
He probably honestly, there's no reason why he would have voted out.
I didn't think he would have voted out me for 2 more weeks. So that's basically why I made him only give me 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
So how long did it take you to figure out that the idol is fake or that he was not going to give it to you?
I mean, the number one, tip off is when he doesn't play for himself in a tribal where he's getting 5 votes for sure. Like, your thought process is, damn, that's ballsy. Like, holy crap. Like, does he 100% sure that I'm going to stay? I guess he is. And Cooper comes up to me and so you see that in the episode. That is seconds after the rock is drawn and Kara's gone. Cooper comes up and is like, I need to talk to you since I wasn't able to the entire time during tribal.
Yeah. And
what the hell were you thinking? That idol's fake. And I was like, no, it's not. And then I leave that conversation. I'm like, holy fuck, was that idol fake?
Oh my God.
And then I think of it and he talks about the fountain. And I'm like, hold on, there was a piece of trash floating in a fountain. They would have cleaned that shit up. Yeah. Like, that's not allowed. Oh my God, it was fake, you dumbass. And that's when you see me in that confessional go, if I had taken even 1 step back and just the story, it would have been obvious that he was lying. But he was brilliant. 20 minutes before tribal, he springs this on me, and he did not leave my side once. I couldn't call anyone. I couldn't. I barely texted Angela saying, I'm going to vote Cooper. Like, if I had talked to Cooper, he would have talked me out of it without it.
Yeah.
And that's what, I have to hand it to Tarowski. It was a brilliant move. I hated it because of what ended up happening with me, but brilliant move.
I do think it's almost kind of funny, though, that Cooper's ragging on you so much for believing that it was real. Then later that episode, he's like, I actually think the idol's real now. I saw Fountain on a tree.
Cooper, to this day, rags on me for my stupidity, and I'm like, I literally just saw you see Fountain written on a tree. I think Tarowski was telling on the tree. Which one of us is stupid?
Oh my gosh. I think Cooper's had a very good handle in the game, but idols and Cooper do not mix kind of.
Idols don't like
oil and water.
Oh no.
He has a confessionalist episode talking about it, which we can mention later. But I thought it's funny because we've talked about this every week in the podcast, and it's almost like every episode something else happens. Where it's just like, oh my gosh, Cooper. He has a lot of the social aspect down pretty well, the physical pretty well, but the idols, it just does not work for Cooper.
Yeah,
it hasn't so far.
Just to talk about the rock jar itself.
Yes.
What was kind of running through your head? Like, who were you thinking was going to get the rock? Like, who were you hoping would get the rock?
I was so sure I was getting that rock. You have no idea. I was like, Claire, this rock feels white. Like, nothing about me is white, but this rock might be. Like, this is instant karma. I deserve this. Like, I think Mitch even said he wanted it to me because it would be instant karma. Cooper said he wanted it to me because it would be instant karma. Everyone wanted it to be me. And I opened my hand and I'm like, that is not white. And then I looked to the person directly next to me. I was like, that does look white. And it was Kara.
Hurrah. Were you just deflated seeing Kara draw the rock?
Half of me was like, my game is over. And the other half was, thank God these text messages don't have to be green anymore.
Oh my gosh.
It was so exciting. We actually made a new group chat right after that was blue. And it was the most exciting moment of my life. Unfortunately, Angela titled it 9th through 6th place. But But other than that, it was like, oh my god, the text is blue. I'm getting it on time. This is crazy.
Wow.
Wish Levana could have been there for that.
Right? She would have loved that. Oh, Levana. Miss that girl.
So after Tribal, speaking of Levana, you had a confessional. You were like, oh, they're like, oh, you like Levana, we're gonna get rid of her. You like Angela, we're getting rid of her. So you're just kind of like all your closest allies are getting.
You don't understand how annoyed I was at the Maison voting strategy. Because they take off, they're like, okay, Shay's a freshman. That's a connection with Akshay. Let's get rid of her. Nick kills Indian. That's a connection with Akshay. Let's get rid of him. Jess knows Akshay's sister. That's a connection with Akshay. Let's get rid of her.
Oh my
Levana is Akshay's closest ally. That's a connection with Akshay. Let's get rid of her. Angela's literally the only ally Akshay has left. That's a connection with Akshay. Let's get rid of her. I was just like, do these people hate me? And they're just trying, you know that moment where they torture you by getting rid of everyone you love? That's what it felt like.
Oh.
It's like the Maisons are torturing me by getting rid of anyone I could possibly work with in this game.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's so sad.
That is very sad.
Well, you know, Tarowski is also kind of thinking like he's losing all his allies.
Mm-hmm.
He was also
Tarowski never lost anyone. That is the most BS thing ever. He had Thal so far up his ass, it wasn't even funny. Like, I know Tarowski was giving Thal a haircut, but, like, still, it was... That bromance is something weird. We all thought they were dating. Like, yeah, I mean, that was just... They were as close... As much as it seems like they were trying to separate from each other, and I think Thal did even tell me that if Tarowski goes home, it'll be better for his game. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'll never do anything against Tarowski. Like, he said that. He was like, I just can't. I was like, yeah, they're dating, for sure.
Well, yeah, that's such a weird like dynamic to have in Survivor. These people who are obviously so close and doing all these coupley things together. Like, how close did you really think they were at this point? Because this was, you didn't know they were roommates yet.
None of us knew they were roommates, but at the same time, we saw that they had gone camping. Like they said, me and Angela were the only two that literally saw that they were together during fall break, and they were inseparable from day one in this game. And as much as Thal was saying, like, oh yeah, like if Tarowski goes home, but I won't do anything against Tarowski. And like I knew I was talking with Thal more, and I knew everything I said to Thal went to Tarowski. So they were still the Alexes. Like everyone still considered them one entity, except maybe Liz, considered them one entity at that point in the game, just because like me and Cooper knew they were one entity in the game.
So like they mentioned there's 4 original Maison and 4 original Nila left now.
Yeah.
But at this point, I feel like those lines are already like blurred and like it doesn't really matter at this point.
It was kind of firmly like there's new Maison and there's minus Cooper. Like it was 5 and 3. There was no even thought of it ever becoming 4 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
So we did get to see Liz's reasoning on why she voted out Angela. Because remember when we were talking with Brittany, she was pretty confused about that, and we were pretty confused too. So right away we did get to see an insight to what Liz was thinking. I thought that was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. She said Cooper and Leia weren't going to let it be Akshay because you guys had formed that personal connection that week. And then...
Not with Leia.
Oh, okay.
I think Cooper just didn't because he thought he could work with me down the road. And which was true. I honestly would have still worked with Cooper at that point until I had to take him out. So I think they were just like, let's keep him, whereas they did not think they could work with the Alexes. Yeah. Oh, and Angela. Sorry. Angela has been anti-Cooper since day one. That has not been shown very obvious. Like, it was clear that Angela caught his game first, and, that's obvious. Angela was ragging on me the entire time. Like, let's get rid of Cooper. Let's get rid of Cooper. Let's get rid of Cooper. Like, I think Cooper has the idol. I don't even care if he does. Let's get rid of Cooper. He's a threat. Wow. And so, like, if Neela had ever gone to Tribal ever after the Jonathan vote, Angela, I think, would have saved me because she could have trusted me. And Cooper was gone. Like, there was no question about it.
Damn.
Wow.
Whoa.
I wish I would have seen some more of, like, Angela's aggressive side in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that, like, she wasn't aggressive about, like, much, but, like, about Cooper, all of a sudden, she just, like, super opinionated.
Yeah, at the summit, she was like, I don't trust what Cooper told us. With the idol, she was like, I don't think Tarowski has it. I'm sure Cooper has it. And I was like, okay, I was right. By the way, Angela.
That's funny.
Then, oh my God, that thing when she was just like, y'all never made a group chat with me. I was like, girl, there was no group chat with me, Cooper, and Levana. That didn't exist.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't get added to it, because it never existed in the first place. Because none of y'all trusted each other. All of you trusted me. Weirdly enough, as weird as that sounds, Cooper trusted me the most. Levana trusted me the most. Angela trusted me the most. So I was like, we are not making this group chat. All of you are trusting me and me only. That is it. And that's the reason Angela didn't trust me. So that's ironic.
That's funny.
So yeah, that's why I think Cooper especially was like, I can't trust the Alexes. Angela hates me with a passion. Me and Akshay can actually work together later. Mm-hmm. Let's not let it be Akshay.
Well, poor Angela. Her game does end at the final 9. Even though Brittany wanted to get rid of Tarowski, or she would have said a Tarowski.
Tarowski.
I wanted to get rid of Tarowski, but
that's exactly how she says his name.
And I know because I had immunity that people just didn't want to listen to me, but Tarowski just needs to go.
Do you know how she reminds me of, kind of?
Who?
Like Fishback in Cambodia, like trying to get Joe out.
Yes. That is
so obsessed.
The real question is, then, did Brittany have severe gastrointestinal distress?
Oh.
Maybe we'll see.
And yes, you can hashtag that according to Fishback.
You can hashtag that. Can you see Brittany just like reading poems out loud to everybody?
As it rains while we're sitting in the shelter.
Oh my god.
All right, sorry for these Cambodia spoilers, Sarah.
No worries.
I don't think that really spoiled.
That spoiled something gross more than anything.
Yeah. All right, so we get to the immunity challenge, and this is, I think, probably one of my favorite challenges that I've seen on College Survivor so far. This is pretty extravagant. I don't know how
so extravagant
they were able to pull this off, but George, I know you're listening. I just want to thank you for, I don't know what you did to pull this challenge off. My mind is still reeling from this immunity challenge. You invented a new game. It was something I've never seen before.
Never, ever. So, what does it have to do with corn is what I was trying. How did you come up with that name? Why is there a hole and there's the corn?
Well, I think because maize literally means corn.
Wow.
And there's a hole.
He was
so then
really
became corn hole.
Kind of like maize on the corn hole.
Yes.
So he was really thinking about
who really came up with that? With the name?
It was Maison.
Who really came up with Maison?
It was Matthew.
What?
Wait a second.
The lion?
The lion invented a game?
Homicide detective himself?
Wow. Oh my god. The influence is still being felt.
Wow. All the way in the final 8 immunity challenge.
I just wanted to say that Matthew's bracket for March Madness is called Amateur Bracketologist.
Yes. That's hilarious.
So he's not over it.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, but in all seriousness, I know that there's a lot of work to do in season 1, clearly. George is definitely doing the best that he can. I know that with some of these challenges, I think people have compared them to the lawn games. And this is probably not one of the most fun to watch challenges of the season. But I did like the kind of the bracket idea for a challenge. Although they had 8 people left, they were able to have people go head to head and challenge.
And
something was pretty creative.
He definitely planned this to be released during March Madness. Because he had the brackets. So
George I didn't think of that.
He was thinking about that way back.
Yeah.
But I think we did get to see another glimpse of I think George's dad made another cameo in this episode. Yep. Akshay confirmed.
Hey guys, this week I wanted to talk about something that a lot of people have been talking in the comments and directly texting me about, and that is Mr. Jane. Yes, my dad has made a few cameos in the show so far, and he is potentially more popular than me, the host, and I'll give credence where credence is due. He's very lovable. You got the intro shot of his butt in like episode 3 or something like that, and from then everyone was just hooked and fascinated. But something you don't know maybe is that he's terrible at technology. At Tribal Council this week, my dad was in charge of getting the votes. So when people would walk up to go vote, he would record on my laptop them casting their vote. The issue was, I had to walk through maybe 5 times how to do it. It was insanely hard for him. And so when people would walk up to go cast their vote, my dad would sometimes get it right, but then at one point we had to stop Tribal Council mid-vote so I could run over, help him with my laptop, and come back and then continue sending people over to him. It was so sad because it cut the tension like immediately, and people started laughing. I'm like, no, you're supposed to hate each other. And it was, oh my god, me just jogging over there and my dad saying, well, what do I do? And I just turn up the screen brightness and be like, Dad, you just can't see the record button. And go, oh, okay.
Yeah, George's dad made quite a few cameos throughout the season. It was always fun. He was a good, really fun person to talk to, with the exception of when he put the camera in Mitch's face. Mitch wasn't a fan of that. But other than that, like his dad, his stepmom were there, and it was always fun to talk with them.
It's a family business.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's I can imagine it was just like you and a couple other people helping. Yeah, there's not always, these challenges aren't always going to be extremely extravagant. I think I was so impressed with what he's able to do, obviously, with just starting out in season 1. But we have, I think, the past couple of episodes, a few of these challenges be definitely pretty simple. I think last episode was the throwing the ball to string thing. And
that was
a couple episodes.
That was the merge episode. What was last episode?
That was the memory cube.
Memory
cube.
Yeah.
The one that I should have won.
Oh,
I to this day, if you look in that, first off, memory as a brown man, mental challenges were made for my people. And I saw that cube and I was like, I'm gonna win a challenge. And this is the only issue is it was right after a rock draw where my mind went to fuck. So I'm there, and if you look on the one I get eliminated, I'm freaking out with the cube because I could not find the M. And so in my brilliant thought process, right after that tribal, I was like, I can't find the M. So you know what I should do? I should show a swing. And that is why I was eliminated. And the moment I got eliminated, I said the entire sequence back in my head, and I got it right. And I was so upset because then Liz was eliminated the next round. And I was like, I could have won that. Damn it.
Gosh. Well, you did. So we're getting into this next challenge. You didn't do so bad. I mean, you went up first against Thal, right?
No, Tarowski.
Against Tarowski. Tarowski.
That was fantastically ironic because it was random. Like George showed us it was random, and I'm still going against the guy who I literally just had a minor argument with because I wrote his name down
for him. Yes.
And I was like, of course that's what happened. What else would happen? The Survivor gods have declared it. So I go there, and for whatever reason, the first one went in the hole. So I was just like, okay. Then Thal tosses his, and my thought is toss this as fast as possible after that and keep those momentum going. And it goes in the hole too. I'm just like, what on earth is happening? I'm going terrible at this game. Hand-eye coordination and myself don't go well together. But let's do it. And I knocked out who I thought was the biggest challenge threat at that point, and the guy who was angry at me. So that was a really good start.
Nice work.
Honestly, I was really impressed with your cornhole skills.
Me too.
But I was thinking maybe Levana was helping you out a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
That explains everything.
Beyond the grave.
Oh my gosh.
No wonder I got good at
and
challenges.
She's why you couldn't see the M on the cube. She took the M away.
She took the M away, so this was her repayment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Then she felt
Levana
bad.
giveth and Levana taketh away.
Yes.
She wanted us to show that she has the power.
Yeah.
That could have literally been the title of the season.
Oh my goodness. So, yeah, the challenge keeps going, and people beat people, and cornhole, and things happen.
Yeah, Levana's powers run out. You know, she made her point against Tarowski.
It was frustrating because, again, I still remember this moment. That's how much it was frustrating, because especially what happened later on in the week. I'm going in that last throw with Thal, and I needed it to go in the hole. And I release it, and I know exactly when to release it to get it in the hole. And for whatever reason, I kept it in my hand half a second longer,
Oh.
and I let it go half a second late, and it fell just to the right. And I can still see it in my head because of like I was that close.
Oh my
beating Saul,
gosh.
getting to the final, and keeping that momentum going. And it was so frustrating.
Oh.
That was Levana's take it away.
At that point, did you feel like you really needed immunity, or did you just want to win just because you wanted to win?
I wanted to win just because Angela just went, and I was just like, okay, they're taking out the non-threats.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's terrifying. I'm a non-threat.
Yeah.
Damn it. So let me just be safe. Let me just know what safety is. And then they were just like, you know what? Neela's never allowed to be safe. Let's have another Maison win immunity. So that's what happened.
So
we narrowly lost to Thal, and then Thal goes up against Mitch.
Midwestern Mitch.
Mitch the
You know,
snitch.
guys,
You know what?
You know what?
guys, you know why I think Mitch was so good at this challenge?
Why?
'Cause he's like a good little Midwestern boy, and it was cornhole.
It was
and
cornhole.
Oh,
You're so right.
The way
Sarah.
Newcomb was made for Cooper,
Oh
cornhole
my
was
gosh.
made for Mitch.
Yes.
yeah. Corn.
Mitch knows his corn.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine how happy he must have been calling his mom
Oh,
after that?
He
Mom,
called his
guess
mom
what I-
seconds after that
Yeah.
challenge for sure.
I think he was on. He was dialing it as Thal
Yeah.
was throwing his last throw.
The one from as far over right as he possibly could.
From downtown.
Trying to be Steph Curry and ended
Yeah.
up like I guess me on a basketball court.
Yeah, I bet Mitch saw. Oh, I have this locked up. There's
Yeah.
no way that Thal will make this one. I'm gonna get my mom called up right away.
Yeah.
That way, in seconds after the challenge, I can just talk to her right away.
Oh,
Mitch is just very talented at cornhole.
Very talented.
Talented.
Very talented.
I never realized he had an accent until y'all pointed it out on literally like the first episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, he does.
I'm just realizing Brittany is Tarowski.
Tarowski.
I feel like she just talks quietly, so because of that, everything just becomes quieter.
I want Tarowski out so bad. I was so happy when Akshay beat Tarowski.
Me too, Brittany. Love you.
Oh, yes. All right. Well, Mitch wins his first immunity. This is the first immunity won by a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Crazy.
Oh,
Yeah. First ever male to win immunity in Survivor Michigan.
That's true.
That's Mitch.
No, well,
No.
No?
Yeah, no. Because it was Kara, the queen of crutches,
who won? The
And
double-
Liz.
and Liz.
Kara and Liz.
Oh,
And then
right.
Leia,
Leia.
Brittany,
Yeah,
and
no, you're
now Mitch.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
For some reason, I thought Cam won it immediately, but no, that's
He was very
He
he
won
came close.
the idol clip.
That's what I'm thinking. Of.
And he did smack down somebody's cup
Cup.
off their paddle. I think
Using whose strategy? was it?
I feel like we talked about that moment in every single episode.
We
It's such a
have.
weird
Yeah.
moment.
We really have.
I love that.
I don't know why I'm saying we, but y'all have.
Yes.
All right. So while Mitch is going off calling his mom, the original four Neela are walking off after travel, and you four are talking.
Mhm.
So Tarowski pulls out this idol again, and
It's the same pretty necklace. Like I could give that necklace to my mom. Like it was very pretty.
so then some spiciness starts to happen, and
It
with
was-
you and Tarowski.
Oh,
It
yes.
was some unnecessary spice in my
Mhm.
mind. I was definitely not happy with the way that conversation went down because Tarowski got. I'm not saying I didn't get completely aggressive, but Tarowski was very aggressive in that conversation, and it surprised me how aggressive he was. Because in my mind, I thought he might have still wanted to work with me, even though I just voted him.
Mhm.
But he was spicy, as you put it.
Well, so, like, can you explain that you didn't vote within any group? You just kind of like have thrown a vote on Tarowski.
Yeah, so the reasoning there was I wasn't out of the game, quite obviously. And Cooper, Liz, and Brittany just went out of their way to help me through a personal issue. So I was like, okay, not voting for the three of them no matter what. Then I've screwed over Mitch twice now. So I was like, if I didn't write his name down, that's just a dick move. Gonna take him out too. Now, Leia is the one that they all wanted to vote for. I don't really know Leia. I barely talked to Leia. Why would I ruin even more a potential ally in the future that I haven't screwed over too badly? Because she was immune. So she was never going to rise. Okay, let's take Leia out. Angela, okay, she's my closest ally in the game. There's no way I'm voting her. So it came down to which one do I want to vote out of Tarowski and Thal. And the only person who I had a reason to vote for was Tarowski with this fake idol versus Thal, who's just a genuinely nice guy who's, with the exception of the time he voted out Levana, never done anything bad to me, and even then that wasn't to me, that was to Levana.
Mm-hmm.
And he then saved me a couple weeks earlier with Tarowski's idol, granted, but he did. So I was like, all right, Tarowski, you're the only one left. You're getting a vote. And hopefully the Maisons will be like, okay, if he's going to vote for Tarowski, we can keep him in another week.
Okay. Yeah, this all makes a lot of sense when you explain it from your point of view.
Right? I think I have a fantastic point of view.
And at this point, Cooper was gone too. I don't know why. I thought this was really funny. Just in the retelling of Tarowski's like, yeah, so we were walking. I just like pulled out the idol and said like, hey guys, I have the idol. It's like, then Cooper just left. I guess imagine Cooper's like looking at him, just like not saying anything. He's gonna like just leaving. Like, okay, he's just making this up. Let's go leave.
Smirks. He like smirks a little and then leaves.
Well, I was just picturing on his smirk. I just picture him just like completely just like look over his like being a little bit of being a little bit annoyed, just not saying anything, just like
what? So that's when the annoyed little smirk comes out. I think the smirk can be a multi-purpose smirk.
A little smirk.
Uh-huh.
I still remember that moment too. We were just walking, and Tarowski's like, "Oh, you mean this idol?" And he seems so proud, and I was just like, "Damn, this guy's putting on a show. It's fantastic. I got dinner and a movie tonight." And then Cooper just looks at it, and like he knows it's fake at this point. I think like they think the entire world thought it was fake. We just had no proof it was fake because he didn't play it twice in a row. So we're like, okay, it's got to be fake. And then he goes to like go to his apartment, and like he just didn't even say a word. Like he's just like, you don't even deserve to like have this fake idol. It doesn't even deserve words. Like that's how stupid it was.
Oh my gosh!
I like how Thal was just like also putting on a show. He was also acting surprised. Like I just
Thal had probably the worst acting performance of all time. It was not surprising in the slightest. I was like, Thal, boy, you were the one that told me Tarowski's meeting with me 20 minutes before Tribal. You mean to tell me you didn't know that this was going to happen? Come on, bro. Okay, like it was. I feel like they thought I was dumber than I was, which was fair considering my previous decisions. That I was dumb in those moments, but I'm not a dumb person as a whole, regardless of what Mitch says. I swear. But so at that moment, I think they thought I was dumb, and I'm really not. I promise.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and another example of Thal and Tarowski like playing it up when you were there. That was like, I only saw you once this week, Tarowski. Like they're just like talking, and you were just in the middle walking, just like staring off into blank space.
I could not. I wanted to get out of that conversation so bad. I could not care less what any of you two are saying. Just like, is this my turn? Cool, bye. Like, just get out as soon as I could.
I really loved how Tarowski talked about Cooper's smirk. And then it just like kept showing his smirk. That was so
He
funny.
got the smirk pretty accurately.
Yeah.
I got to give it to him.
Yeah.
He got that smirk down.
Oh, Cooper still smirks to this day.
No,
He's
Cooper,
You know, like the gym smirk in The Office that like everyone makes fun of? That is the Cooper smirk.
He does. Oh, man. Yeah, the Cooper smirk is wonderful. I love how Tarowski is just like annoyed with Cooper, though. Like, oh, that smirk. He just seems like he's someone who's like, things are finally not going Tarowski's way.
Yeah.
It seems like most of the game it kind of had been.
I feel like everything that went wrong from both sides got blamed on Cooper, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cooper just kind of became a magnet for, derision.
For hate.
Yeah.
He was just so good, such a big threat that we were just like, let's just hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, it's just like an interesting turn because it seemed like from the beginning he was like getting built up as a super likable person, and like the thing is he is super likable. Like everyone loved him, but then all of a sudden, at a certain point, he just becomes this villain.
Once Angela figured him out,
he had betrayed everyone but me, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. So everyone in the game had reasons to be angry at him, and they showed that anger.
So yeah, this seemed like he doesn't necessarily have all the favor in the world anymore. Not quite the extent that he did. I would still say that he's still pretty well hooked up. He's in the majority alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so more people are starting to catch on that Liz is a big threat if she makes it to the end. Mm-hmm. Like Leia and Cooper were talking, and Leia's like, Liz could kick our ass. And so everyone's just like starting to think maybe we should like everyone's like starting to make plans where Liz is going to be voted out in the future, essentially.
Brittany was definitely the first to pick up on that. And I think a lot of people are seeing that now too.
Also, I think it's funny how Tarowski is like kind of menacing in his confessionals or whatever. Like he always seems just like nobody's saying. But then when he's talking with Thal, like in their house, he just seems so like he's always like balled up, like always like concerned. He's like what's gonna happen? Like, he's just
Yeah.
there was
he
that
gets
one
to be
scene.
open with Thal. Thal gets to make him
Yeah.
feel safe, and that's why they have a nice, beautiful relationship.
Exactly. He can feel like he can be the mafia don in his confessionals. You know, that world. But he really, the real true Taruski. Let's just say his name differently.
He said Taruski.
Or
he just say it differently every time.
Say like Jonathan Twarski.
Twarski.
Sitting on the counter all curled up.
While Thal just peels that potato.
At this point, is he just like trying to flex his legs in front of the in front of us? I mean, I feel like Levana went back in time and told him, "Hey, in the future, the podcast hosts really like it when we do that. So
I think
take it up a little bit more."
Yeah, I mean, if you're him, you have to know that that's the moneymaker. You know, like I don't think he needs podcast people to tell him that. You know, there's a reason all of his confessionals are out there, man.
Yeah, there's the one where Thal was sitting there fully dressed, and Taruski's next to him, like with boxers,
t-shirt and boxers. He I don't know what they're planning tonight, but
our friend Katie mentioned that the image like made her think of like. What did she even say?
She said, why does Tarowski look like he's in an insane asylum and Thal is his therapist?
Oh, yeah. That was such an accurate caption. Like, it's like if you're going to caption that photo, that is what it would be.
I mean, maybe Thal is the therapist, though.
Yeah. That would explain their relationship so much.
I mean, Tarowski is just he's always
getting like German.
And his confessionals and Tarowski and his confessionals is so tough, like you're saying, but it's really because Thal is a therapist that gives him the confidence.
Wow,
my boy Tarowski.
Tarowski. Yeah.
Wait, why was Mitch calling Leia very talented? Like, where did that come from?
Leia is very talented. It's because he was talking about her being a threat.
Yeah, he was pitching the final three of Cooper.
I just thought talented was a weird word.
It was such a weird word. Watching that made me feel so uncomfortable. Like, Leia is very talented. What the fuck are you insinuating right now? Like, that was so creepy just to listen. And Mitch is not a creepy guy, so just to hear that the way it came across was like, what on earth did I just?
She's so talented that even I can't manage her.
Unmanageable
right there. And now Mitch is walking to get dinner. I bet what was Mitch gonna have for dinner?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, you know, he really likes Chick-fil-A, but he can't really get that in Michigan.
That is not in Michigan at all. I would be there a lot if it was in Michigan.
I bet he uses his mother's recipe to make home cooked stew.
Meatloaf. I feel like that's pretty Midwestern.
That sounds Midwestern.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's getting a little bit colder out, and you know, it's about November now, and I just have a nice homemade stew in my mother's recipe. And then you just gotta let the meat marinate for a while, and then now it's about ready to cook.
Marinate.
Marinate.
You might have to give the meat a few pokes in there.
My mom is a very talented cook. She has a very, very talented recipes. I like to manage those recipes.
I'm dying. Oh wait, maybe he was going to get a poke bowl.
Hey! But that's why she's on this podcast.
But whatever it is, he all of a sudden gets this thing from George in the group me to everybody, saying that instead of maybe making some stew and meatloaf, he should go on and study over at the Ugly, don't you know? And check out the bulletin board. Give that a few pokes. So,
oh my god, that moment.
Yeah, so everyone's sprinting over there. So where are you?
I'm in my dorm on the hill, literally about to start working on some assignment. I don't even know what it is. And I see this message from George. And when George gives a message, it's normally like, when is tribal going to be? When is the challenge going to be? And I was like, wait, we already decided tribal. Why in the world is he sending another one? And I look and I just see, you guys should go study in the Ugly. And look at the board. And for 2 seconds, I just stare at that message. And I'm like, did George send this to the wrong group chat?
Yeah.
What? Why on earth is he telling us to... Oh my God, there's an idol. And I just literally grabbed my jacket. I didn't even grab the right jacket. It was raining and I didn't grab my raincoat. I grabbed a different coat. And I just grab it and sprint. My had an injured legs at this point, which was not shown in the show. But at Final 10, I injured my knee on one side and my ankle on the other.
Kicked too hard.
Oh, no.
And so I'm just barely healed. And I do a dead sprint. I'm the most out of shape human being on earth. And I do a dead sprint from the hill to all the way across at construction everywhere. So like I'm just running in like these narrow alleys. Everyone's staring at me because this weird brown dude is sprinting through the rain. And I don't even care. I don't even get to the ugly because as I'm about to run into the ugly, Liz and Cooper sprint out of the ugly and just take off through the diag. So I'm like, yeah, I'm following y'all. And so I just end up behind them. I don't even think they realize I was behind them. And then they go, Mitch. And Mitch is just digging through some nasty-ass mud on the side that literally made no sense. And he was like, what? Oh, and then he just starts sprinting with Liz and Cooper. So this was like line of Liz, Cooper, and Mitch sprinting. Me awkwardly sprinting behind them. I still don't know where we're going. And then we end up in this like weird area right next to Hatcher. Hatcher has these steps and this ramp. And that makes like a 90-degree angle. And then there's like this muddy, gross, mulchy area that has a sign that says Hatcher Graduate Library. And it has these trees that have no leaves on them because it's November. And these wicked branches. Like it's like straight out of the Snow White forest. It's creepy as hell. And
Disney again.
Right? And we all end up there. And I'm just like, hi guys. So, and I didn't tell them that I haven't seen the clue. So I just hear Cooper go, the clue said right here. And I was like, yeah, the clue said right here. I don't know why you can't see it. And there's this piece of like tape on the Hatcher Graduate Library sign. So I'm like, oh my God, someone already grabbed the idol. It was attached to this sign and someone grabbed it. We are too late. And I swear I was supposed to meet for my friends for dinner. And Mitch said he had a date. That's not what he said in the show. So I don't know if he was lying to all of us.
Date with a nice female.
Like I am there for at least 2 hours in this rain, in this cold, in this mud, nasty, wearing the wrong jacket, and Liz gets there. We're all looking for a little bit. As we're looking, Brittany comes up, Tarowski comes up at different times. Liz goes back to her class, and Mitch acts weird as hell. After Liz leaves, he just goes, I gotta go to my date now, and then just leaves.
Wow.
He grabs his backpack, goes into Hatcher, doesn't leave, and then goes, I gotta go to my date, and then leaves. And we're all like, huh? And then Thal comes, because, he was on Hell on Earth. And
North Campus.
And he comes, and we're all searching for a little bit. Then Cooper leaves because he's like, there's no way it hasn't been found. We've looked everywhere in the diag, even the exact opposite of where the X says. We've looked there many times. We've looked, as Brittany said, in every piping and like vent that could possibly exist. Leia comes after all of us have searched there for like 2 hours. And it's like, I was sitting in the lobby of the Ugly and didn't see anything.
Aww.
I didn't see George's message. I didn't see George. I didn't see any of you all running. I've just been sitting there for the last 2 hours. And we all felt terrible, and I don't think any of us believed her at the same time, which is unfortunate because I think she was telling the truth. But that's what Survivor does to you. Tarowski is looking under cars. There's this van that's randomly there. He's looking under it. Like, he wants this idol desperately. Liz comes back after her class ends and is like, has anyone found it? Like, where could this idol be? So all of us are just like, okay, so Liz obviously didn't find it. Like, why else would she come back? And watching the show now and being like, wait, Liz found it. When she told the story, she doesn't tell it as much as Tarowski does.
Apparently he tells his story a lot.
He told that story a lot to Cooper most of the time.
Salt in the wound.
And no, but Liz literally, according to her, she walked there, took 2 steps into the like mulchy area, and it was just sitting on the ground in a plastic bag. And she just picked it up, put it in her pocket, turned around. I apparently, according to her, stared right at her when she turned around as she still has her hand in her pocket and was like, oh my God, where could this be? I did not notice Liz had the idol. I did not even consider Liz had the idol. I didn't see her bend down. I didn't see her go up. I didn't see anything.
Wow.
I feel like right after that moment, I was like, maybe I should keep an eye on everyone. But up until that moment, Liz was so sure that I saw her, and I did not at all. I was like, what? Where could this idol be? Someone obviously found it. It's got to be Mitch. And I think because of how weird Mitch was, and he was like, I have to go to my date. And then just left.
He was nervous for his date.
Yeah, he knew his date was very talented.
Like 15 minutes into searching, he just leaves. And we're just like, okay, so he found the idol, right? And I think it was just like a well-known fact that Mitch had the idol. And he did. So sorry, Mitch. I hope you had a good date.
Maybe we'll have to have him as a guest in the future and ask him how his date went.
Oh my gosh.
Unless he was lying about it.
I thought it was funny how Liz didn't understand the clue, but Cooper was like, oh, it's right here. And like because of Cooper, Liz was able to find it so fast.
He has now led two people.
Yeah.
Cooper led.
I lead others to a treasure I can never possess.
It's her.
Cooper grabbed Liz, Mitch, and grabbed Liz, Mitch, and me on the way to this idol that he could have had completely to himself because there would have been no one else, and he would have had two clues. And instead, he handed Liz an idol.
Oh.
He's very talented at assisting others, you know.
Very talented at assisting others to idols.
You should put that on his resume.
Yeah, on his LinkedIn.
On his LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So talented at assisting others.
And Tarowski can say that he's very talented at finding idols that Cooper has dug holes for. Cooper's even aware of like I'm just bad at finding idols. I think it's just so random that he's good at everything, but he's just not good at finding idols.
So Liz tells Mitch immediately, but do you think she tells her before he leaves for the date? Like, you think that's why he left?
Is that why he was being weird?
A little bit of insider info.
Ooh.
Yeah, she told us that she walked away to go back to her class, and the moment she walked away, she texted Mitch, I got the idol. And then that's when Mitch started being weird.
Okay.
And then because Liz came back, she kind of saved herself. Because, like, I think up until that point, we were like, Liz or Mitch has it. And then Liz came back, and we're like, okay, Mitch has it. Done. You know, that's the reason he was weird. Now it makes sense. Mitch normally isn't weird, but he was. Like, so.
My advice for if you ever find an idol on a season like this, search for the next 3 hours still.
Yeah.
Right in your pocket.
That is what Tarowski did.
Yeah.
He searched for hours and hours and hours, and me and Cooper were talking about it, and I think me and Brittany talked about it too. We're like, okay, so at least we know Tarowski doesn't have it. Like that's for this week.
Yeah.
Wow, that was.
Yeah. So what do we think about Liz telling Mitch? Because I know that we've talked a lot about people telling, like the decision to tell people an idol is like almost as important as like finding the idol itself. So do we think it's a good thing that Liz told Mitch? Is it bad or?
I mean, maybe I'm just like, I don't know, a little bit like behind here, but I wasn't aware of how close Liz and Mitch really were. I thought that it was more Mitch and Leia were really close. So I guess I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, I thought that Liz and Brittany, I assumed that Brittany was Liz's number one and that Mitch and Leia were each other's like number one. But I didn't really know that like Mitch and Liz were also close enough that like you're going to trust this person with knowledge of your idol. I mean, maybe it's a way to like gain that trust. But I was just, I was surprised. I mean, she did kind of talk about being like a little bit more annoyed with Brittany, at least during this week. So maybe that's why she was like not telling Brittany and instead told Mitch. But
as we were playing, the way the Alexes got bunched together, Liz and Mitch got bunched together. I think a lot of it had to do with straight up the kiss under the arch. From that moment, the two of them were just associated together, and Mitch kept on trying to separate himself from it the entire season. And I think the more he tried to separate himself, the more we were like, oh, that means they're definitely together. Yeah. And Mitch and Leia never got brought up because they did a very good point of not making it seem like they were as close as they were.
Yeah, so a big theme of the season has been, of course, the relationships of the Alexes and also of Coop and Leia. And the Coop and Leia one got a little unraveled this week, and it kind of got fully unraveled this week in this meeting with Mitch and Leia, where he fully kind of just like called her out on it or just like brought it up to her.
Well, at first though, in his solo confessional, he said that, or I don't know if it was his solo confessional, but at some point he says that it doesn't matter to him.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you're right.
But then he also did freak out when Leia was like, he knows that we talk.
Yeah, he like put his hand in his face like 20 times, like, oh my gosh, oh wait, oh no, oh come on, Leia, oh.
But it also doesn't matter to him.
It doesn't matter.
He might have been putting. It doesn't matter. He might have been putting on a little bit of the show, but I think that, yeah, I don't know why he has such a big reaction to her telling him like, okay, you're right. I know. I did tell Cooper about the idol, and she's like, you told him. Oh no. Oh.
And then he was like. And then he was like in this confessional, he was like so stressed. He was like, they hang out every week. They even play poker together.
They even play poker together. They play poker.
I want to be the one poking. Now they're poking each other. Give me the poke.
If they play euchre together, then I can't be her euchre partner because she's gonna choose Cooper as her euchre partner.
Oh.
Oh.
He said it was very scary.
Very scary.
I feel like
But
y'all
also
this
good.
episode just to say it in Mitch's accent.
But the good thing that comes out of this though is that he realizes why Cooper wants to be with the 5. He feels better about Cooper not flipping on them because he knows he's close with Leia, and then he thinks he's in a good position because he has a trio with Cooper and Leia, and then also one with Liz and Brittany. So he sees himself as being in the middle at this point.
Yeah, he seems to be sitting in a pretty good spot right now. Curious if he's getting somewhat of a winner's edit right now, or maybe he's being set up for a blindside. Seems like right now, of everybody, he seems to have the most power at the moment.
And it doesn't seem like his name is on a lot of people's lips. Like a lot of people are thinking about like getting out like a Liz or getting out, obviously one of the Alexes. But like it doesn't seem like he's very high up on people's targets.
Yeah. Right.
It doesn't kind of sound like he's not sure which side he wants to go with, but he's just gonna kind of see how it plays out. But at this point, it's almost seeming like the heat is kind of shifting off the Alexes a little bit, and a little bit more of the Maisons are all kind of gearing up to take out each other and kind of trying to jostle for position. So you can kind of see they all have like their little connections that they want to have to kind of build up an army for the future. Because we see Liz and Tarowski.
Tower Sky. Liz and Tower Sky.
Tarowski.
Yeah.
And Sarah is now Russian.
And he goes, well, I don't know if I can do it in Alex impression. My idol's fake is what he says.
And just it's hard to concentrate on what he's saying when there's his legs on screen all the time.
Oh, it's true. It's distracting.
The voice just goes in one ear out the other. I feel like the next time, if I ever see Tarowski, it's just gonna be like really weird.
It's gonna be
under his legs.
Yeah, it's definitely it's gonna be like the middle of summer, 100 degrees out, just wearing like 3 pairs of sweatpants.
Yeah.
So guys, what do we think Thal was making when he was peeling that potato? What was the dish?
Maybe he's using Mitch's mom's stew recipe.
Was it even a potato?
Yeah.
Was it? I thought it looked kind of like an apple.
Yeah, I thought it was an apple.
I thought it was a potato.
That is a very weird way.
I definitely thought it was a potato. I just think I thought it was a potato for sure.
I'm gonna be on team potato just because
he was peeling it like a potato, but it looked like an apple.
Yeah, but he's putting it into a big pot. Why would you?
He's
that
in a pot.
Apple? Oh,
guys,
no.
Did you ever play that potato counter game on Neopets?
No.
The what? The who? There was a potato counter game?
That potatoes would fly all over the place and you have to count them.
Wait, I did.
And sometimes apples would fly by and it would confuse you.
Oh, when you
I definitely
click
did.
the apple.
I am a Neopets man through and through. So
I'm
Pokio 138 on there. It was a combination of my 2 favorite things, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Into one cool
I used to be Ux Luth. It was just first part of first name, first part of last name. And then I think I threw in a 99 because every kid thought that was cool.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Can we text right now?
It's 1:30 in the morning.
Wait, no, he's in California though.
Okay.
Oh, so it's only 10:30 there.
I just texted. Guys, It was
Oh
an
my God.
apple.
It's a freaking apple for apple pie.
We should have known this because they went apple picking.
Oh
No
my God.
way. The apple picking.
foreshadowing. The genius of George's editing. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Wait, so there's continuity in their bonding.
Wow.
That's insane.
Wow.
You know, they've
Well-
nurtured this bond that they've had through this whole season. Now they're finally getting the fruits of their labor.
Oh, man.
Making an
Fruits
apple
of their
pie.
labor.
And I'm sure if they told Mitch about they're making an apple pie, how much more
know.
Red West can you get? He would have jumped in with his mom's favorite recipe.
Oh, man.
Okay, let's move on.
So Tarowski's playing a little bit differently this week. Last week, he was kind of just riding off of his fake idol. And this time, everyone knows it's fake. Everyone knows there's a new idol. So he goes, okay, can't use that strategy anymore. I'm going to have to start talking to people. So he tells Liz that the idol is fake. He just lays it all out there. I thought that was an interesting choice of him to do.
Yeah, and Liz doesn't feel the need to tell anyone because it's back to that whole concept of even if she tells people, they're gonna think he's lying. So like at this point, she's like, I'm just gonna keep it to myself.
Yeah, because it kind of looks like the Maison 5 or 4 plus Cooper, they're not going to implode this episode, at least this vote. So it's going to be one of the Alexes or Akshay.
It's kind of returning to like a similar theme of like the first couple episodes of the season where there's like, you know, episodes 3 and 4 or whatever, where they're like, the Maisons, there's so much, you know, inner strife for them. They all hate each other. It's the worst, you know, lines of all time, and then they end up still working together.
So what we're saying is Maisons suck. That's what I'm getting. And I agree.
Sure,
So-
you have an opinion.
That's why I didn't flip. That's what we're going with.
'Cause I need to decide to get rid of either you or one of the Alexes. And it seems like
At least I'm winning something.
Alex Tarowski is off the table. Why was he off the table?
Well, he was on the table earlier
Do
when he
not
was sitting on the counter.
think.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't actually think he was
Yeah.
ever truly off the table. I think it was always Tarowski and who are we splitting it with kind of situation. So it was between me and Thal and who were they splitting it with. And then I think once they decided me, it became, okay, now are we putting more votes on Tarowski or more votes on me? And I think that's what most of the debate was.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that was unfortunate what they decided.
Yeah. So I guess like Liz said something in the confessional about being worried that like at this point you're becoming kind of like a final tribal goat and like jockeying for a position that have you as like their number.
I
That
was
an interesting
weirdly
thing.
excited when she said that, like just watching that, because I was like, wait, my strategy works.
Yeah.
I'm Philip Shepard. I did it. Like I am the ultimate goat that everyone wants to take to the end. And Liz, the biggest threat of Maison left, recognized it. And at the same time, I was like, my strategy was so bad that I became too big of a villain, and now they want to vote me out anyways. It was so
You're
frustrating,
too big of a Philip.
right?
Yeah. No, I thought that was an interesting way to look at it. Like a lot of people wanted you in the game for that reason, as you'd be like a loyal number. So they decided like, well, might as well just like, instead of to keep ourselves strong and keep ourselves like down the road strong, let's like get rid of this person who is probably going to be used in the future of like us using this person against each other. Which I thought it was like interesting that that's the way that it kind of played out, because it's like the Alexes are such big threats at this point. Like Tarowski's like done all this crazy stuff. My mind is blown that this is not the week he gets voted out.
The most frustrating part about watching that though was her going like, "Oh, people are going to take Akshay to the end." The week before, I texted Liz and I said, "My game's over, but what I'm going to do now is do whatever I can to get you in the final 3." And I was completely serious, because I just the way Liz just cared for me as like she's a motherly figure, she's an RA, like that's just how she was. So I was completely like, I want Liz to be in the final 3, and I was completely serious, and I was gonna do whatever I could to get Liz in the final 3 until I got further, and then I was gonna take her out. But it's fine. And so I wanted Liz to go further. I was gonna be loyal to Liz, and then Liz had no interest in being loyal to me, which is fair, I guess.
At this point, she thinks that she has every single person in her back pocket.
Mm-hmm. Everybody rotating around her.
And she doesn't want anybody around that's going to threaten that. Like, she wants to be everybody's only person. And she knows that, like, well, Akshay has a thing with Cooper because they used to be in the same tribe and blah, blah. And, like, I just want to be everybody's only person. That's what I'm guessing is her kind of reasoning.
So you keep the pair that are going to be loyal to each other no matter what?
Yeah. That's what I personally think that not getting rid of an Alex is a really very questionable move at this point. I think it's dumb.
You see in my final words, I call it one of the, at that point I thought it was one of the dumbest moves. Like, I made a stupid move, so I'm basically like the James of dumb moves, and like I'm waiting for the Eric. Like, I think this may have been the Eric of dumb moves. Like, this, maybe not. Maybe like the Ozzy or Jason, and then like the Eric still to come. But I was the James. This is the Jason. It's just like, that was quite stupid to leave two massive threats that are completely loyal to each other in the game over a goat that sucks at immunity challenges.
I mean, we do still know that. I mean, it is a 5-2 majority, so they're probably thinking, okay, doesn't matter. We're up 5-2. And I can definitely see Liz's thinking in that, like, well, but
Liz is not 5. Liz is 1 of 5.
That's true.
I couldn't understand the other 4.
That's true.
Reasoning even slightly.
But her thought is, like, if we're gonna be up 5-2 either way, might as well have it the two people that are super threatening, so it's like people can like kind of band together against them.
Are you saying she wanted to keep in a meat shield?
Maybe.
A meat shield.
She knows that she's threatening, And just if she knows that she has this connection with Thal, then maybe she doesn't want to like potentially ruin it by getting out Tarowski. But like on the flip of that, like get out Tarowski, now you know that you're the person that Thal is closest to.
She would have had Thal and me if she takes out Tarowski.
Yeah.
But it's like, you need to have kind of like the villain. I guess like fun. You actually were the villain. But like, you need to have this bad guy, the threatening bad person on the other side. That way you keep your side unified against them. Yeah. If there's no one on the other side to fight against, you're going to start infighting. So I think that's kind of, I can see that being like a way to keep Maison strong.
And that's actually my insider info a little more. It's, I was told the reason I went home that week was because it was the only way Maison sticks together. If Tarowski goes home, Maison actually splits up that week.
Damn.
Yeah. So this tribal, everyone's clearly very cold. We're finally seeing snow on the ground. Everybody has blankets. And after you're voted out, you tell everybody that you're happy to get out of the cold.
I don't know if you noticed, the jacket I'm wearing, the hood was a little big. And
yeah, I have that in my notes. I said Akshay's hood is covering his eyes.
So there was a lot of wind that day, and it was going right into my eyes, and I kept on like pretty much crying, and it was really frustrating. So I was like, I don't need to see George. I don't need to see anybody. Like, I'm doing fine. So what I did was I brought my jacket as low as I possibly could to where if I lifted my head up, I could sort of see George. And I pretty much just blocked and covered my eyes completely. And I looked and I was like, my face is a shadow and I'm wearing all black. I am the villain.
Literally full on.
I'm literally just trying out my role for when Disney makes an Indian princess. I'm going to be the villain.
Incredible.
Yes.
So any other thoughts? You said that you as you were voted out, you had some little bit final words for the tribe that weren't included in the edit.
Yeah, that was an upsetting. I guess because I was just going so full out into my villainous mode at that point that they chose not to include it. But there was a very sweet moment after I got voted out where I said, hey guys, like I always said if I wanted to go home, I wanted to be blindsided. So thank you for fulfilling my dream. And then I followed it up with, and, I have absolutely no hard feelings. I love all you guys, and I hope we can be friends once this game is over. And then you see, like, what happens after that. My torch gets snuffed, and I'm super excited to get out of the cold. And guess what? Angela did give me a ride home that night.
Oh, wow, she finally did give me the ride
1 week late, but it was
have some closure on that.
It was exciting. She did hold my hand, too. It was good times.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she thought because I voted Tarowski, I was working with Maisons and knew she was going home.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. That was very upsetting, but got to hold her hand eventually and get that ride home. And
There you go.
yeah, it was a very sweet end to a villainous run.
Our friend, Catherine Reed, Cooper and Leia's good friend, she had a question for you,
Yes.
which you kind of answered. She said at the very end, when you had your final confessional, you were talking to future players, like, never do this freshman fall.
Mm-hmm.
So she was curious if after these couple years working on, like, production, if you still feel this way.
So the thing was, like, I'm a massive, massive Survivor fan, and I knew nobody coming into the game. So it was a great way to meet people that I would have really never met. It was a great way to play Survivor because I don't think I survived on an island for 39 days. So might as well do it in college. But at the same time, college is such a transition. It really is. And coming from out of state, I didn't know many people. And then I didn't also tell my family that I was playing the game. Like, I didn't tell my sister. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell any of my friends. So I was very, very alone when it came to Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to play like that, where you're going to be completely alone, coming from out of state, freshman fall, don't know anybody, there's so much other stuff going on in your mind that you don't want the emotional trauma that Survivor brings you.
Yeah.
But, like, now, if I just know that if I had even been able to talk with my friends about this, been able to talk with my sister about it, like, it would have released some of the stress and some of the emotional baggage that was just on there every single week. So at the time, I really did think never do this freshman fall. It sucks. And if you want the greatest grades possible, definitely don't do this freshman fall. But it was a very cool way to meet people I would have never met in my life. Even Levana and Shay, like, they're freshmen, yeah, but they're theater majors that are in North all the time. Like, I would have never met them, or any of these seniors who are graduating, or like Brittany, who's a friend for life. Liz is a mom for life, all these people, and even future-wise producing now, the three of you. I would have never met any of you, most likely.
Aww.
And so it's friends for life that I wouldn't have gotten. So if you think you can handle it and you have people to talk to outside the game about the game, definitely do this freshman fall. If you're coming out of state and you don't know anyone and you're not talking to anyone about the game and you want good grades, don't do this freshman fall.
Unless your roommate is also doing it.
Okay. The title of this episode came during Mitch's voting confessional.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant line. He said, "Your pride was momentary, your fall is permanent." It sounded like it came out of some Game of Thrones shit.
Yeah.
It was great. The only criticism I have of it, he wasted it on me. Like, my pride was what fucking pride did I have in this game? My fall was permanent. My fall's been going on for 3 weeks. Where have you been, bro? Like, you could have used this if he had written Tarowski's name, and, like, this man had 2 idols. He had the greatest moment in the game. His pride was momentary. His fall's now, bitches. What? Like, I understand that. He used it on me. I didn't do anything. Why would he use that?
He just thought he was just itching to use it.
Yeah.
I just really want to use this really, really, really rad, wonderful, very talented voting confessional at spot.
Like, I loved the line. Loved it so much. And I was so happy it was the episode title because it was a hype line. And I was like, why did you use it on me?
Maybe he should have used it 2 votes ago for Tarowski.
Yeah.
Or I guess he didn't want to use it for Angela, but
no, definitely not.
Brittany is the person in the picture.
I think you mean Bentley.
Ooh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Which one's more important?
Oh man,
Brittany and Bentley.
I think this was Brittany's first
I'm
one.
more of a Brittany fan than a Bentley fan, I have to say. I may be in the minority, but I'll take it. I love Brittany. I can't say the same for Bentley. I don't think Bentley liked me either. The one time I went to her apartment, I think Bentley got some Levana powers and knew that me and Brittany would have some tension. But I'm a big Brittany fan, not a big Bentley fan. And that'll probably get me more hate than anything I did this season.
That's the most villainous thing you've ever said.
I can see you in the Disney movie now, kicking the dog.
I would never kick a dog. Let's get that out of the way.
You would get kicked by
I would get kicked by the dog.
That's true.
or you would not get kicked by the dog.
And I would just say I got kicked by the dog, and that's what made me a villain. Yeah, I can see that. That's like my villainous backstory.
Oh my
I
god.
love it.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
But like, I want to like maybe ask like how you would play again if you had the chance.
If I were to play, I would definitely not be a villain ever again. And I think I would be able to be myself a lot more because at the time I was a freshman. I was brand new in college.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to like get by
Mm.
and maybe not reveal my personality as much in the public settings. Now everyone knows my personality. Like there's no way to hide it. I'm a sassy dude. I make Indian jokes. Like it's what happens. And I think I can release that a lot more and just be more myself. And I think it'll help people trust me more. And I think it's a good thing. Never going to be a villain again is a decision I'm making now.
Well, hopefully that your confessionals save this time. If you ever have another go about
Yes,
it.
I agree. Hopefully
Yeah.
people can actually know what I'm thinking and
Yeah.
not what Thal and Mitch think I'm thinking.
All right. So yeah, eulogy time.
Yeah. So think about Akshay's game from the beginning. Seemed to be going really, really well at the beginning, having connections with Cooper and Levana, but then also that connection with Angela on the other side. It's kind of having, I think that in the early game, having one of the better games on Neela probably.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe second to the Alexes, but even then you had at least connections with people on kind of like both sides of the two trios that had formed.
I think you were definitely set up in a good position if you ever had to go to another tribal council in that arrangement.
Although it did seem that there was a brief mistake with Angela would have ended up siding with the Alexes and Kara and probably taking out one of you, Cooper, or Levana. But it probably, you position yourself well enough that it probably wouldn't have been you.
It probably would have been Cooper and Levana before you.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a shame that Nikhil was voted out early on. Because
the
I would have
Brown
wanted
Boys
to
Alliance
see.
would have been so good.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to see a brown person alliance for sure.
That would have been the greatest alliance in the history of Survivor Michigan. Final 2, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
There would have only been a Final 3 and we still would have been Final 2.
You definitely went all out at the swap.
Yeah.
And
honestly, one of my defining images in my head so far of the season of Survivor Michigan is you holding onto Thal's hands, and then and then you see that boat come in and you let go.
That's how I felt in the moment. I was like, how dare you betray the great, our Lord and Savior, Levana.
Judas. Yeah.
It was a Judas moment.
It was a Judas moment.
I actually, we were sat in the car after that tribal and I forced him to call all of our allies and tell him he betrayed Levana. I just felt so bad.
Oh,
that's
man.
Awesome.
That definitely was a turning point, I think, in your game, and that you kind of went from, I mean, you definitely, on like the power rankings of who's, trending up as far as having power in the game, that definitely was one of the turning points. And I think that the villain strategy could have worked.
The heel turn,
Yeah.
It definitely could have worked. I definitely like it a lot more, and it makes a lot more sense now hearing your rationale of becoming the Philip. But
yeah, they're definitely maybe took it too far in a few cases that maybe hurt your chances with people wanting to work with you. Obviously, in hindsight, it's 2020, but the Tarowski fake idol thing was definitely not good for your game. The thing is, I think we kind of said the same thing for Kara and Angela. If the rock draw would have went a different way, then definitely we would be talking about this much differently. Because all of a sudden now you'd be in the majority, and then you would have been kicking yourself if you would flip back, and then all of a sudden,
I was told if I made it past this week, I would have been dragged to the final 2 by everyone remaining in the game. So, or final 3, final 2, whichever one they ended up deciding on.
Your strategy ended up definitely, I think, being very close to panning out, and just didn't quite get there. I don't know if it would have been necessarily a winning strategy, but strategy to get to the end for sure.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how convincing I can be when I'm talking about Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Yeah, we never know what would have happened there.
Especially if that works out, where you're sitting next to, say, Angela and Brittany or something at the end.
Yeah, my plan was if I'm with Angela, Kara, and Brittany, I really thought that I had the best chance out of those 4, which is crazy to think about. But I think I did, because Brittany, love her, has trouble putting her thoughts into words sometimes. Kara is not the best at filtering not kind thoughts, and Angela didn't do anything. So yeah, there's that. That might have been a problem. But so I really thought I had a chance with that 4.
Mm-hmm.
Literally any other combination of people and I lose. But
there's a chance.
But there was a chance. So
Yeah.
you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
Not anymore because I voted out.
Well, yeah,
But
yeah. This would have been interesting. I do think that Brittany is underestimated a lot, or she has been so far in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
But and I guess we'll see how it plays out and what ends up happening with her. Yeah, the hypotheticals, you know, after being voted out, I think that's something that a lot of people end up doing is thinking about the what ifs.
It's a sense of security. It makes us feel like we're better players than we are.
Well, either way, it was definitely a fun run. I think that even if the villain arc maybe necessarily wasn't the best thing strategically for your game, it was a lot of fun to watch.
Very entertaining. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for this awesome episode. Actually, you've been an amazing guest.
Maison.
Thank you.
Maison,
John.
No.
Well, hey,
Everyone
I
is
named
listening.
Mila and Gora, so
Yeah,
I'm beating Matthew.
True. You know, people don't think about that.
I named 2 tribes,
Yeah.
he named 1, so I got that.
Wow.
People think of season 1, what are they going to think of? They're going to think Mila, Gora? Who came up with that name?